Oxford researchers just confirmed what we feared. The internet, as we know it, is dying. Now that is the opening line of a post referencing this chart. It shows that for the first time ever, AI-generated news articles have now outnumbered those written by real humans. Only 5 years ago, this was near 100% human, 0% AI. But in 2022, when ChatGPT launched, everything changed. Now, as someone in the news space, this was pretty shocking, especially since the post then goes on to say that projections say 90% plus will be AI by next year. And to make it worse, quote, the real crisis is model collapse. When AI trains on AI-generated content, quality degrades like photocopying a photocopy, rare ideas disappear, everything converges into generic sameness. Sounds like some freaking dead internet theory type shit. So naturally, do some research and turns out this wasn't from Oxford. Rather, an SEO company carrying out a study using AI to detect if an article was written by AI. Their own methodology says that many argue detecting AI is impossible or at best highly inaccurate. So that throws into question if this graph is even correct. But let's just say for a second it is. What the article also didn't include is the number of views each article had, because the total number of AI written articles is meaningless if no one is reading them. But what about the crisis of model collapse we were warned of if AI is trained on AI? Well, I went back to the original post and lo and behold, I found a human AI expert who was worked at Meta, Uber, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and he said, quote, model collapse is widely considered not a real problem. He then lists the reasons why and provided research to back up his claim. Bro, and at this point, I am baffled. Everything this post told me was sus. But then there's the kicker. I looked for who wrote it, and it wasn't a who. It's an it. Perplexity AI. Bro, how the hell is AI gonna fearmonger humans about AI? God damn. Here's the thing. Just when I was about to wage war against the machines, I remembered, when you get hit by a car, you don't blame the car, you blame the driver. AI is not killing the future. Humans are. Gen Z in Mexico have had enough. Massive protests erupted yesterday in several cities, including outside the presidential palace, where Claudia Sheinbaum works and lives. Protesters say that they are angry at the government's failure to clamp down on violent crime in the country. And while it started out peaceful, a small group of protesters started tearing down fences and throwing objects at riot police, leading to clashes and a response of tear gas and fire extinguishers. Around 120 people were injured, with 100 of them being police officers. Now, these protests were triggered by the recent public assassination of Mayor Carlos Manzo, who was very outspoken about organized crime in the country. Demonstrators at this protest chanted, "Carlos did not die, the government killed him." And also, similar to other Gen Z organized rallies around the world, the One Piece flag was seen there too. But to give you an idea of what they are protesting, since the year 2008, American politicians have been murdered. In that same time frame for politicians in Mexico, that number stands at a staggering 1,271. Mexico's 2024 general election was one of the most violent in the country's history, and the CPJ committee recently found that Mexico has the highest number of disappeared journalists in the world. Yet, to date, not one case of a disappeared journalist in Mexico has ever led to a conviction. And also, out of Mexico's 130,000 people registered as disappeared, only 35 have led to a conviction. Now, Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, responded to these Gen Z-led protests by questioning their motivations. She said that they were inorganic, paid for, promoted from abroad, and amplified by bots on social media. Okay, so Donald Trump has just ordered the Department of War to prepare for possible military action in Nigeria. In a recent post, he claimed that there was an ongoing mass slaughter of Christians in the country by radical Islamists, and said that if this continues, quote, the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria, and they may very well go in there, he calls it a now disgraced country, guns ablazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists who are committing these horrible atrocities. And then he concluded all of that in all caps, warning the Nigerian government better move fast. Now, Nigeria's president Tinubu, he previously responded saying that Trump has basically got it all wrong about the situation in his country. Tinubu said, quote, there are security challenges which affect citizens across faiths and regions. So he's not saying that it's specifically isolated to Christians. And then he said that his government has been carrying out consistent and sincere efforts to safeguard freedom of religion and beliefs for all Nigerians. Bro, even Nicki Minaj has got involved in this situation, thanking Trump and his team for taking the situation in Nigeria seriously, and then said that numerous countries all around the world are being affected by this horror and that it's dangerous to pretend that we don't notice. But the question that you're probably wondering is what Trump is saying true? And the answer is yes. Partly, because there is some nuance to it. So according to the United Nations, independent analysis, and a 2021 bipartisan, by the way, report by the US Commission on International Religious Freedoms, thousands of Christians have been targeted and killed. But the nuance is so have Muslims, and so have those who are not religious at all. You see, Nigeria's population, which is roughly 220 million, they are almost equally split between Muslims and Christians. And the group which these reports cite the most often, which are carrying out these attacks, is called Boko Haram. That doesn't mean they're the only ones, but the most cited. Now, for those unfamiliar, it's essentially a militant jihadist organization that have an ultimate goal of establishing an Islamic state under Sharia law. And they have targeted Christians for their faith in churches, places of worship, but they've also targeted Muslims for, quote, not being Muslim enough. They've also targeted police, military, government. And in fact, according to the United Nations, they have killed more than 40,000 people and displaced more than 2 million since 2009. And the big part that has kind of pissed the Nigerian president off, the country, Nigeria, is now being placed alongside North Korea, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Pakistan, and China as part of this list of particular concern due to violations against religious freedom. But the question that a lot of people are asking is, does this, what Donald Trump has done, actually change anything? And the answer is, we don't know. But today, a lot of people are at least speaking about it. So we'll see what happens next. I'll keep you guys updated. Okay, everyone needs to at least know what's happening in Tanzania right now because it is truly staggering. Hundreds of people are now feared dead. We're talking up to 700, some sources say, after major unrest broke out on Friday, protesting the country's election results. And you're wondering, why is this such a big thing? Well, listen to this. The country's president, Samia Hassan, she said that she received almost 98% of the results. Yeah, you get it. So her main opposition, one's in jail, another one was barred from running for technical reasons. Amnesty International, they're saying that there was a pattern of suspicious disappearances and deaths leading up to the election. And because of this, there's been such a large protest that's been happening over the past 3 days. It's triggered an internet shutdown. No one essentially can go on the internet at the minute. And the country's opposition party, this is where it gets really horrific. They are claiming that 700 people have been killed since Friday. That's 3 days. If true, that's staggering. Now, others cite different numbers, but still just as staggering. A diplomatic source in Tanzania told the BBC that there was credible evidence that at least 500 people have been killed. Amnesty International, they say it's around 100. Reports also say that hospitals in the country are refusing to give out information when asked about casualties. And also because of the internet blackout, information from local journalists is also limited. So, truly staggering stuff, but I'll try and keep you guys updated as we find out more.